And hello again, welcome back to Japan Game Junk. No holding back, this episode is the best because I am going to explain a bit from what I consider to be the holy grail for retro game buyers or collectors in Japan. A place where people actually do come from all over the country. If they are in the area, they will definitely stop by because they know what can be here and nowhere else. This is a book-off store in Ashikaga city of Tochigi. This is the Ashikaga Asakura store. And basically, in Japan, hard-off, off-house, and book-off locations, they are franchises. So if there's an owner of one of these and they have a special predilection for certain things, they might make their own specialty version of the store. Not marketed that way, but just it is. So, for example, there's one hard-off store in Saitama that the owner loves pro wrestling stuff, and he's got tons of pro wrestling merchandise in his inventory to be purchased. Maybe it's his own even collection, I don't know. But anyway, yes, these places will tend to hoard the items that are more suited for that certain genre. And the Ashikaga Asakura store of Book Off, the owner here must love retro games, because there are so many things that you can get here you just can't find anywhere else in Japan very reliably, and there are things here I've never seen anywhere else, so definitely, please come to this store. It is the best. Every time I come to that store, I go to that store, I do buy some stuff, so sorry about that. The things I found in the store, this is on a visit that was on May the 13th of 2024. And this starts off with a fairly classic game, Dracula X Rondo of Blood, for the PC Engine CD. Here, 20,000 yen. 22,000 yen. And yeah, perfect condition. The manual looks great inside the case, which is sealed, and yeah, it's a fantastic game to have. Very worthwhile for anyone's collection if you can find it. I have seen it for a bit less, especially disc only elsewhere, but yeah, this is the best version I've ever seen of it, and at a price cheaper than some places, but still not exactly the cheapest. Also, for the MSX, there was the Nightmare game, which is, I believe, a rare, or what is it? What was it before? Something play the game. Oh, I forgot. Whatever. The Rare Studio, what they were called before that. Wow, it's so embarrassing to forget that. But anyway, Nightmare for MSX, 3,400 yen. It's cheaper than elsewhere. And also Rally X, a fantastic little racing game for MSX, also kind of on the rare side, but 7,400 yen. Something that I thought was pretty cheap, Headbuster. It's kind of a tactical game for the Game Gear, complete in box, very, very nice looking box as well, 1,500 yen, quite nice, I think. For the PlayStation 2, Tokyo Bus Guide. This is a game where you can, I guess, use the bus system. You kind of, you can see the lines and where they go and stuff, but also you can drive the bus around the city. Not too dissimilar from Densha de Go, the train simulator, but this is the bus version. Originally part of the Super Light 2000 series for PlayStation 2. This was 2,000 yen at launch. Now, though used, it is 4,600 yen for the PlayStation 2. Something I noticed before, I mentioned before at the Wonder Goose store in Mobara that there's a champion tennis game for the SG-1000/SC-3000 Sega systems. That was 2,000 yen complete. I thought that was cheap, but here, the cartridge only, 910 yen. Priced that way, so with tax, it's 1,000 yen. Also for the same system, the SG-1000, it was Space Invaders. Kind of one of the rarer games for the system, but of course very famous. That one is 7,700 yen. Then, something you don't expect to see, a Casio PV-1000 game. So the Casio PV-1000 was it was released right alongside another Casio system that were completely incompatible. and so they really cannibalized each other's sales. And I believe both systems sold less than 10,000 units back in the early 80s, like 1982. So yeah, this is a pretty rare system, which means the software also is pretty much impossible. The only place I've ever seen software, a game cartridge for the system, was in this store, and I did see it this day. Amida is the name of the game. Amida by Konami for the PV-1000, 7,200 yen. I just mentioned it now because I saw it for more expensive recently. Burger 2 for PlayStation 1, 11,000 yen. A few games here that are kind of on the expensive side. So, for the original Game Boy, a weird game called Nubo. Nubo, kind of on the, just a weird character-looking thing. I'm sure people have played it before on emulation, but the game itself is exceedingly rare, especially with the box. Here it was being sold for 28,000 yen. And right beside it, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. In the box, 33,000 yen for the Game Boy. Very rare, but still very nice. Also, in the display case, they had a working Sega, I'm sorry, not Sega, of course, and NEC, PC Engine GT. This was released as the Turbo Express in other countries, but this is the working machine for 40,000 yen. Now, I would expect to pay more almost anywhere, but for a working version. Ironically, though, it's not complete as it doesn't have the AC adapter, but I believe you can purchase that cheaply at the Super Potato in Akihabara. Anyway, that's enough of that wistful talk. Good old Pepsi Man. Pepsi Man for the PS1, 15,000 yen, although in very good condition. Have seen it cheaper, but that is fairly a decent price, I think, for this condition. Then you have a couple of identical copies of Dai Makaimura, so Ghouls and Ghosts, or Super Ghouls and Ghosts, for the Super Graphics. So this is the PC Engine souped up version, and I believe that this game will only work in the Super Graphics, which is a fairly rare system, but it does work on modern clones, like my Retro Freak. It will work on that, for example. But these are 8,100 yen, kind of on the pricey side. Also, Metroid Fusion, cartridge only, about the same price as anywhere right now, about 5,500 yen. Then, for the Famicom Disk System, Santa Claus's Treasure Box, a very, very weird big box game for the disk system, Famicom Disk System, 3,800 yen, and it's got a cute little claymation Santa on the front. Next, a game that might be of interest, because I believe it is a rare these days, Conquer Live and Reloaded. So Conquer's Bad Fur Days re-release for the original Xbox, 4,000 yen. I believe it's kind of cheap. This was also the North American version, which is compatible with the Japanese systems. But yeah, I believe it's much more expensive in the US and in Japan elsewhere. Also, there were many, many regular old PC Engine games, just the card only, cheaper than most places. Example is Newtopia, the Zelda-like game, 2,300 yen, but many other games at a similar cost point. Also, a fairly sought-after game, Rainbow Islands, for the Mega Drive, 6,100 yen. And then a game I did purchase this day, Quackshot, for the Mega Drive, 1,000 yen. That's all. And indeed, if you watch the video of that coming out soon, it does work very well. Next, the holy grail of many console collectors, the Pioneer Laser Active, including the Mega LD Pack. This lets you play the Mega CD games, so Sega CD games, and the Pioneer Laser Active games, and the incredibly rare Pioneer Laser Active Mega CD games. So these are basically, so imagine if the Mega CD or Sega CD was huge and it allowed playing Laserdisc. Then it would be like those compatibility of games. Incredibly rare and very expensive these days, but the system itself, at least I can say it works, but 100 34,000 yen. That is a nice chunk of change. It was, however, checked and repaired by the Pioneer company before being sold. But still, even if we guarantee that it works, that is probably one of the most expensive systems you can find, alongside the 64DD these days, for example. But still, good luck finding that anywhere else. Next, very, very rare actually, the Japanese version of the Intellivision. A very, very unsuccessful system here. You rarely ever see it used. Here, a boxed version of the Intellivision, Japanese version, for 20,000 yen. And on the front cover, it's got an amusing picture of a guy and a girl. Maybe they're both teenagers playing the baseball game, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm losing the game." The girl's like, "Yeah, I'm winning the game because I'm great." It's one of those kind of pictures. Next, this store actually has two Sanyo 3DO systems. So one is boxed and complete for 25,000 yen. The other one is the system only, no box or manual, but everything else, for 22,000 yen. And I know that one day I will be purchasing this boxed unit unless someone gets to it first. It's been there a long time, but yeah, I've always wanted the Sanyo 3DO. I have the controller only. And once my current 3DOs crap out, I'll get that one. Also, complete in-box mint Power Glove for the Famicom, 10,000 yen. So there you go, if it's worth it or not. And also very, very rare to find, the High Saturn Hitachi branded Sega Saturn remote controller. So only thing different is that it's got the Hitachi logo on it, but because of that, 5,600 yen. Yeah, so if you ever find the system by itself, you want the matching controller, or you want to get a second one, well, there you go. Also, there are many, many Famicom Disk System games in general at the store, of general, cheap prices, anywhere from 500 yen up to what you would expect to pay elsewhere. But this store does, in fact, check all of the Famicom Disk System games, which is very important because many are junk, and make sure they are the same game as what's on the label. And if not, they will put the correct label on it. It's if you're buying Famicom Disk System games and you really want the quality to make sure they're going to be okay, you do want to get them at this store. This is the best store for your Disk System games. Also, hint coming up for someone who will be listening to the next episode, but what I thought was the cheapest ever boxed cassette vision game for the cassette vision console, Super Golf for the cassette vision, 1,200 yen. And next up, the Hori Super Turbo for the Super Famicom system. This is actually kind of like a dongle. You plug it into your controller slots of your Super Famicom or Super Nintendo. Then it's got these dip switches, and you plug your controller into that. And this will let you control 3 different levels of turbo control, either off, 5 pushes a second, or 15 pushes a second, on all of the buttons of the controller for the Super Famicom or Super Nintendo. It's a great little thing to have if you want to have your favorite controller become turbo. And here at the store, it was 3,700 yen. And I think that's about it. But there are many, many more things I could go on. If I went there and I would probably just say everything in the store and spend days recording with you all. But they are all incredibly wonderful. Every system you can imagine. On this day, I did buy that Mega Drive game of Quackshot. And also I bought a 3DO game. Just so much stuff is available that you just can't find anywhere else. And at, my opinion, reasonable prices. So, if you're in Japan, and even if you're just visiting or whatever, I would recommend, if you're here for gaming purchasing purposes, just either get a ride if you need to, or rent a car, or whatever. Go to the Ashikaga Asakura store for book off. And yeah, you will definitely find some stuff that you'll want to have. And on the side note, there's a really good, cheap, fast-cooking takeout pizza place right next door. So you can get some of that too. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. And again, remember, this is the store to visit. This is the Holy Grail in Japanese game collector shopping. There is none finer. Please go there I am telling you this secret making your life better. Goodbye.